Napoleon's Imperial Guard had never broken, not once. 50 battles across Europe against Austrian hussars, Prussian grenadiers, Russian artillery. Every professional army the continent could assemble. The Guard held, the Guard advanced, the Guard won. They were called the Immortals. Then came Spain, not the Spanish army, not cavalry. Cannons or fortresses, farmers, shepherds, blacksmiths, priests with muskets. And they didn't just fight the Guard, they destroyed them. This is the story of the Peninsular War's guerrilla trap. The moment ordinary civilians engineered the psychological and physical collapse of the most elite military unit on Earth, and Napoleon never fully recovered from what they started. Hit subscribe and join Legion Lens. Now, let's get into it. To understand what happened in Spain, you need to understand exactly who the Imperial Guard were. Not just good soldiers, the best soldiers in the world. To join the old guard, the inner core, the true elite, you needed a minimum of 10 years of active service, multiple campaigns completed, strict physical standards met, a flawless conduct record, and personal approval at the highest level. Most men who applied were rejected. The ones who made it wore tall black bearskin hats and dark blue greatcoats. They were paid more, fed better, housed separately. They existed apart from the rest of the army, not just in rank but in identity. Their presence on a battlefield was a weapon before they even fired. Napoleon held them back in nearly every engagement. Deliberately, every enemy commander in Europe knew this. The Guard waited at the rear, watching, and every soldier on the opposing side watched them back, knowing what their deployment meant. When they moved, it was over. At Austerlitz, they shattered the Russian Imperial Guard. At Jena, they turned retreat into outright victory. At Wagram, they held a collapsing flank together through presence alone. They had never, not once in the history of the First Empire, been forced into full retreat by enemy action. They were not merely soldiers, they were a symbol, and when symbols break, they break loudly. In 1808, Napoleon made one of the worst strategic decisions of his career. He invaded Spain, not carefully, not with calculated patience. He walked in through political manipulation, forced the Spanish royal family off the throne, installed his brother Joseph as king, and expected the country to accept it. Spain did not accept it. What followed was unlike anything the French army had ever encountered. In conventional war, the logic is clean. Defeat the army, capture the capital, sign the treaty, it ends. Spain had no strong centralized army. The French took Madrid in days, controlled the main roads, held the obvious strategic points, and the war got worse because the Spanish didn't fight like an army. They fought like people defending everything they had ever known. The word guerrilla, meaning little war, entered the military vocabulary here. Small bands, appearing from nowhere, supply lines cut without warning, couriers found dead on empty roads, soldiers entering villages at night and found dead by morning. The French couldn't defeat it. You cannot win against an enemy that refuses to stand still, and no one was immune, not even the Guard. This is where everything changed. The Spanish guerrillas watched the French, studied patterns, patrol schedules, supply routes, habits, and they found something critical. The Guard's greatest strength was also its greatest weakness. They had never lost. They believed they never would. That belief made them fast, aggressive, effective, but also predictable. When small groups of civilians appeared weak, afraid, poorly armed, running, the Guard pursued without hesitation. Of course they did. They were the Immortals. They chased farmers, and the farmers led them into terrain only locals understood. Narrow ravines, steep walls, rocky hillsides where horses failed, tight village streets built for Spanish feet, not French formations. And then the trap closed. Fighters rose from every hidden position, muskets from above, rifles from rocks, everything they had, the battlefield shaped by knowledge. Locals who had lived there all their lives against soldiers new to the land. The Guard couldn't charge upward, couldn't flank, couldn't suppress fire from every direction. Their tall bearskin hats made them visible targets against the skyline. Some units escaped with heavy losses, others were wiped out, and every encounter cost Napoleon something he could not replace: experience. Veterans of 10 campaigns lost forever. The physical damage was serious. The psychological damage was deeper. The Guard's power was never just military. It was belief. The idea they could not be beaten. Spain dismantled that idea. Soldiers wrote letters home, letters often suppressed, describing an enemy that couldn't be found, couldn't be reasoned with, couldn't be impressed. An enemy that ignored the rules because those rules were never meant for people defending their homes. There were no safe zones, no rear areas, no front lines. Men who had faced artillery couldn't sleep in farmhouses, not from lack of courage, but from uncertainty. Not knowing if the farmer downstairs would come upstairs at midnight. That is what invisible warfare does to the mind. The Immortals remained undefeated in open battle, but Spain never gave them one again. The Peninsular War lasted 6 years. France never fully pacified Spain. Guerrilla forces tied down hundreds of thousands of French troops, soldiers who could have reinforced other decisive battles. The drain was constant, invisible, impossible to solve with conventional tactics. By the time Napoleon faced defeat at Waterloo in 1815, the Imperial Guard made one final charge against Wellington's line, and it broke. Historians debate why, but one fact remains: this was not the same Guard. 6 years in Spain had taken the veterans. What remained was still strong, still brave, but no longer invincible, worn down slowly, not shattered in a single moment, which is often the deeper defeat. Napoleon once said the moral is to the physical as 3 is to 1, meaning belief multiplies power. Spain proved him right from the opposite side. The peasants didn't destroy the Guard in one battle. They eroded belief, one ambush at a time, one sleepless night, one lost veteran, until certainty was gone. And when you strip an elite force of certainty through constant pressure, through small humiliations, through relentless uncertainty, you make them ordinary. And ordinary soldiers lose. The Spanish had no grand strategy, no academies, no structured army. They had their land, their losses, and patience beat invincible. If you made it this far, this channel was built for you. Legion Lens is small right now, but every great channel started unseen. Subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what stayed with you. Because the next story goes deeper, and you will not want to miss it. See you in the dark.